you that B is another way of writing y-intercept? Just when we were doing the opener? Alex, I know that's new to you. We are going to be graphing lines based on being given an equation. So this is a new concept to us, okay? So our slope, we've known this for a while. Slope is represented by m. And
no.
Well, there's the,
in the top
you can
right.
write the y.
Yeah. Yeah, write that in your top right. So when we have the equation, when there's numbers plugged into these letters, this is going to be a fraction because it's a slope, so it might be like 3 over 4, you know, and this could be whatever number, 7 or anything. But for this, when you see the number, it is the slope is whatever is attached to the x. Okay? So if it's just a fraction and there's no x, that's not your slope. So it has to be a slope connected to the x. And a way to help you remember that, slope is multiplied by x. Multiplied starts with m, right? It's multiplied by x. I don't know if that helped you. But then the y-intercept is the number by itself. Okay? And there's another hint in there for you. By itself. B starts with by. It's the number by itself. Yeah. Those little word things help me remember stuff like that. So next to your, why don't you draw an arrow up here like this and write by itself. I can't fit it. Okay, underline that B and by. And then slope is multiplied by x. Okay, so go ahead and write that in with your arrows. I'm sorry, I'm trying to help you remember how to do stuff. Okay, so your slope is multiplied by x. M starts with m. M is slope, right? Y-intercept is the number by itself. By starts with b. Okay? All right. We got that down? Okay. So that's all the new information that you have to know for this. So we're just going to do examples from here, okay? When you are trying to find your slope and your intercept, your y-intercept, your equation has to look like what it did in the top right, okay? At the end of the note sheet, we're going to have examples where the equation does not look like this when the y isn't by itself. So to be able to figure out m and b, it has to be y equals mx minus b. Okay? So I'm going to do this first one. What does m equal? Perfect, because it's the number multiplied by x. You can write 3, or you can have 3 over 1, because we're working with slope still.
Okay.
Okay, 3 over 1 is the same as 3. Perfect, yep. See, this is easy stuff. It's just a new concept. So b equals -5. And what does b mean? What is b? Yes, but what is it? What does it stand for?
Wait, intercept.
Y-intercept, yep. So if b equals the y-intercept, I did this when I was taking the notes yesterday and getting ready to teach this. I write this underneath what I got for the y-intercept so I don't get confused on how to plot it. How do you plot the y-intercept?
Start in the origin, go down.
Perfect. Yep. Now, if I didn't write this, would you know how to plot that?
Yeah.
No.
If you don't, I recommend writing this in. Again, you don't have to, but it helps me to remember what I'm doing. So go ahead and plot that y-intercept right here. And if our slope is 3 over 1, where am I going to plot that next point? Hmm? If the
You
slope...
gonna go over 3.
I just can't hear you. I don't think you're wrong, I just can't hear you. Okay. We're going to go up 3 and right 1. Is that what you were trying to say? And you can continue if...
That part like that?
3 over 1.
What?
From that point, plot it.
And I'm going to plot another
How
one.
did you even get that point? So you know,
How did I get what point?
2, 3.
Because our slope is 3 over 1, and this is our y-intercept. The first thing you have to do when graphing these is you have to plot your y-intercept. Otherwise, you're not going to know where to start. So you get your y-intercept first, which is b, and then you start working on the slope. Up 3, right 1. Rise over run is 3 over 1. Okay?
Hold on.
And then I'm going to draw my line. And my arrows. Okay, it's helpful. You don't have to, but it's helpful to plot more than one point like this. Because if you only have these two and you draw your line, it might end up like in a different direction almost. Not the wrong direction, but just the angle would be off a little bit. But you can just do 2. Okay. Does everyone have that down? All right, example 2. What does m equal? 2 over 3. Why is that? Yeah, it's the slope, but you know that it's 2 over 3 because it's the number multiplied by x, right? So go ahead and write m equals 2 over 3. And what is my b? What's my y-intercept? 3. And then I'm going to write, again, you don't have to, but I'm going to write the ordered pair so that I don't forget where to plot that. So AJ, where do I plot the y-intercept? How do I get there? Up 3, yeah. That's it. See, this isn't very hard. You guys are catching on pretty quick. And now what do I do?
Go over. Wait, go down.
If you do rise first. Up, how many?
2.
2. Remember, because rise over run. So we're going to go up 2. And then what?
Oh, that's smooth.
Oh.
That's smooth.
Over 3. Right 3. And then I want to draw my line. Draw your arrows. Use your straight edge. And that's it. Is this very hard? You guys catching on pretty quickly? It's all right?
What's the next example?
I like it better than the stuff you were doing last week.
Yeah. This is a lot fewer steps, you know, instead of that y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. There's no... I mean, but only extra work you'd have to do in this. I don't know that there... So if y isn't by itself, that's the only time there's going to be a little extra work.
And we don't gotta do all that. Simplify.
Right. Right. Not yet, at least. Okay, example 3. Okay. Kaylon, do you know what m equals?
-5/7.
Yep. And that's because it's the number multiplied by x. And then
Man, he's so fat number.
what does b equal? What's my y-intercept?
-7.
-7.
So be down 7.
Perfect, yeah. So my ordered pair is 0, -7. Just like Alex said, I'm going to start at the origin, and my y-intercept is -7.
You're gonna go. Wait, right. Which is
Yeah, so this is a little different because if my rise over run is -5/7, if it's -5, I'm supposed to go down 5, but this is off the graph.
Yeah, that's what I was like.
So this is why it's a little different. This is where you might have to do a little extra work.
No.
It's really not extra. You just have to think a little harder. So instead of having a negative on the top like you're supposed to, I'm going to put it on the bottom. So I'm going to have +5 over -7.
So you go up 7.
I'm going to go up 5.
How you gonna do
Oh
that?
yeah, 5. Yeah, 5.
So the line is going to look, just imagine that the coordinate plane is bigger, okay? Your line, your next point would be down 5 and then right 7.
Well, you can't do that.
But you can't do that.
On the imaginary line.
Right. But we do know that the slope is going to be negative. So I'm going to go up 5. Good, Alex. I'm going to go up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then left 7 because it's negative. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's right here. Okay? And so imagine, like I was just pointing out to Kaylon, if we were working with -5/7, I would go down 5 and right 7. So if you can imagine the point over here, the line just continues. Okay? Mm-hmm. So then go ahead and draw your line.
Right.
But just remember that you, since this is what we're being graded on, just remember that this is what we're being graded on. This is what you're writing, okay? What's your question? Okay. All right, are we good?
I don't know.
So make sure that you have this -5/7 because that's what the equation says. When I wrote it like this was for my brain, okay? Because m does not equal 5 over -7, it actually equals this. But in order for us to be able to graph it, you need to know this, okay? It's only first hour. Okay, example 4.
Wait, there's only one number.
Yep. So when there is no number in front of a variable, it's going to be 1. So I'm going to write that
M equals 1.
1 in there, so m equals 1. Or 1 over 1. B equals -1.
So it'll be 0, comma, -1.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You guys are killing it today. So I'm going to plot that. 0, -1. -1's the y-intercept. And then for my slope, I'm going to go up 1, right 1. And then draw your line. And that's it. So make sure on your note sheet that you write that 1 in front of the x, so that when you're doing your homework and working on your quiz, so that you remember whenever a variable is by itself, it's a 1. Okay?
Where's the worksheet then?
She has to calculate it. Give my mom. Hold her horses.
I meant that was it for that example, not the whole note sheet.
We're not done. We have.
4 more.
Look. Worksheet. This is the worksheet.
We're doing the notes right now. We're on Tuesdays. Slope intercept notes.
Okay, what's my m?
Yo, in this block.
What? 4 over 3. Okay, this is important to know. Okay, so there's no number by itself, right? So it's going to be 0 because there's no number. Okay?
Would be 0.
I thought you always had to add on to 1. After that,
You thought what?
I thought you had to add on to 1 if you got a. Hey, never mind. Hey, no, because you got an X. Alright.
Okay, so under that, I'm going to write 0, 0 for my ordered pair. And above your example 5, I want you to write when there's no b. Why can't I write that? No b, the y-intercept equals 0. Okay. Go ahead and write that in for yourself, because there's no value there. So if my y-intercept is 0, 0, it's right on the origin. And I'm going to go up 4, because I know our slope is 4 over 3, so I'm going up 4, right 3. And then go ahead and draw your line. Okay. So again, this is very important for you to know when you're doing your homework. When there is no b, when there's no number by itself, it automatically equals 0. So then your y-intercept is 0, so you plot it at the origin. Okay? No. Okay, example 6. Only 3 left. What's different about this one? So there's no x value, right? There's no x, so there's no number attached to x. So it's going to be 0 over 1. So when there is no x, go ahead and write this in.
What about B?
Or no,
B?
no m value. I'm sorry. Hold on, Kaylon. I'll get there in a second. No m value. M is 0. Okay. 0 over 1, rather. So then what is b? It's the number by itself.
1.
So b is 1. So my y-intercept is 0, 1. So I'm going to go ahead and plot that, 0, 1. And then if my slope is 0 over 1, I'm not going to go up or down because it's 0, but I am going to go over 1, which is the same. Remember that horizontal thing that we talked about last week when we were figuring out how to... What? Oh, okay. I'll help you out if you need to catch up afterward. Okay. Make sure you have this down. So when there is no m value, when there's no number attached to the x, m equals 0 over 1. And then that's going to give you a horizontal line. Because the rise is 0, so you don't go up or down. And the run is 1, so then you just go right 1, right 1, right 1, right 1. Okay? And then I'll continue forever. Okay. Example 7. There's 2 left. Okay, this is when there's a little extra work. Why is that? By looking at the equation. Because y isn't by itself. There's a 2 on it. So what are we going to have to do? So I have to get y by itself. I'm going to do this right here. So 2y equals 6x minus 8. So what am I going to do if I'm trying to get y by itself? What do I do with...
Won't you take out the 6x?
What do I do?
You get the 2 away from the y.
You get the 2 away from the y. How do you do that?
Do times? No, multiply?
Divide.
I mean divide. Yeah.
Divide, yep.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because it's attached by multiplication, so I'm going to do the inverse of it, which is division.
Yeah.
The opposite of it. So I have to do the same thing to both sides. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So these cancel out. So then y equals, what's 6 divided by 2? I heard it. So it's 3x. And what's 8 divided by 2? 4. So it's minus 4. And then this is the equation you're going to work with. Okay?
So then you put 3.
Make sure you have this down on your note sheet. Okay. So what is my what does m equal?
M equals 3.
3 or 3 over 1.
Yeah, or 3 over 1.
And what does
And
b equal?
B equals -4.
-4. And then, just for your brain, the ordered pair is 0, -4,
So
right?
then you start on your x-axis and then you go up 3.
Hold on. We gotta plot the y-intercept first, right?
Wait. No?
We have to plot this first.
Oh, we plot the B first.
Mm-hmm.
I've been plotting the x the whole time.
So you go down -4?
Mm-hmm. Because the y-intercept, where the line crosses the y-axis, it's a -4. You always plot that first. And then from this point, what do I do?
Go up
Up 3. Perfect. And then what?
over 1.
Over 1. Okay. So just know that in order to be able to find your slope and your y-intercept, you have to have y by itself. So make sure you have this work down over here. Finding y by itself. Okay? Alright, last example.
Oh my god, I keep writing the wrong side.
It probably doesn't matter, Daisha.
Yeah.
Okay, for this one again, y is not by itself, so what am I going to have to do? Guys, let's refocus. Y isn't by itself,
Why?
so what am I going to have to do?
-7.
Subtract 7 from both sides, that's right. I'm going to draw my line of equality. Y equals 2/3 x. What's 4 minus 7? Negative what?
-3.
-3. Thank you. So then this is the equation you're working with. Y equals 2 over 3x minus 3. So then what is my slope? 2 over 3. And my y-intercept is -3, just like Daisha said, because it's the number by itself. Again, make sure you have this written down. Kaylon, can you see that?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm almost done writing it down.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Got it.
Okay. So the first thing we do when graphing the line is what?
Start in the origin.
Start of the origin, and then what?
Go up 2. Wait, 3. Oh, down maybe.
Down 3. And then what? What's the next step?
Go up 2.
Up 2?
Up 2.
Not up 3.
Oh.
Over 3. And then I'm going to draw my line. And that is all for today's notes. Okay? Does anyone have any questions?
Nope, I'm ready to go.
We're good? Okay. We have a worksheet that is due